No coding experience is required to build out software now. I'm going to show you how to use artificial intelligence to build out a software from complete scratch. We're going to use AI to do all the heavy lifting, and for me to best showcase this, we're going to break it down step by step, lesson by lesson. So by the end of this series, you will quite literally be able to deploy a live website link, anyone can access on the internet, and start using your software. Sound good? Let's jump in. As it says on the whiteboard right there, no coding experience, build software. What I'm about to show you in this series is going to be broken down into multi-steps. So lesson number 1 is we're going to go over a tech stack, or in another way of saying this, the tools and apps required for us to actually deploy a real software to a website link that users can start using. The second lesson here is going to be the setup lesson, and I already know a lot of y'all are going to like this one, as a lot of comments I usually get is, Corbin, I'm getting errors in my terminal, Node.js doesn't exist. This lesson, I'm going to go over how to connect this to GitHub, which I'll explain more of why we even do this, but essentially everything we need to do to correctly set up a developer environment. Third lesson is we're going to build out the entire front end together using artificial intelligence. Fourth lesson is we're going to build out an entire back end using artificial intelligence so we can provide value to our consumer. Our fifth lesson here is going to be how do we actually monetize this and start making money off the software. And the last part here is we're going to actually launch the software, and here's the best part, because you might be like, you know what, I don't know if this is real. I don't know if this guy's actually going to teach me. Check the description down below. By the end of this series, I'm going to put the actual software we create together. It's going to be live, and you're going to be able to use it. And then we have a nice little bonus lesson here that you can find in Builder's Console Log. Check that in the description down below, of pitfalls that I experienced when building out my own software at bumpups.com. These are lessons that I learned while building out software, of mistakes I made that costed the development process months. So let me save you those months, and you can learn more in that lesson. Today's lesson, though, is we're going to go over tech stack and all the tools required to actually build out software. So let's check out this little diagram here. I've set up a nice little diagram. I did some drawing, okay? And we're going to see everything we need to know. So first step in developing your software is, how are we even going to code it, Corbin? Like, what are the tools needed to code? In this series, I'm going to show us how to do it with Cursor AI and ChatGPT. Saying this, I want to go over two major things here. So the question is, why are we using Cursor AI and ChatGPT? To answer the first one, to be honest with you, I personally like developing in VS Code, and I like keeping the IDE and AI separate. But what I've noticed with a lot of people that view this channel or ingest this kind of content, people tend to lean towards Cursor AI type of content. So I'm going to use Cursor AI as the main IDE, but we're also going to be using ChatGPT for more complex code, which I'll explain more of why I do this. So Cursor AI will be the IDE, but as you can assume, you can use any integrated development environment. Windsurf, Cursor AI, VS Code, all of these will work in this tutorial, and the skills that you'll learn can be applied to most of these app building platforms. So then it comes to the second question here of ChatGPT. I personally am going to use in this tutorial O4 Mini High, O4 Mini. I'm going to show you why you would choose either one, and by the time you watch this tutorial, those models might even be better. So regardless of whether you watch this 2 weeks after it got posted or 2 years after it posted, the skills that you're going to learn when it comes to prompting of AI will stay the same. Let's go ahead and jump back over and see the actual infrastructure of the software we're building, or another way of saying connecting the dots, have a nice live website link that works. First things first, the front end. Everything you see right now on YouTube, when you look around, the nice little like button, you might want to click that like button just to test out the front end. The front end we're going to be using in today's tutorial will be React. Everything I'm about to describe in this entire tech stack can be interchanged depending on your use case and your context. But this front end will be React. We love React. React is made by Meta. It's really good, very, very fleshed out library that allows us to create really nice UIs. So now that we know the front end we'll use, what is the value we're going to provide our end consumer? And that's going to be from bumpups.com. We're going to leverage BumpUps API here, and specifically one of its API endpoints. What BumpUps allows us to do is put in any video found on the internet and extract value through API. Taking a step back, if you don't know what API means, it's simply this. We built out a nice little front end, nice little application. We need this little application to connect to something else on the internet to provide value for our consumer. So the software we're building today is going to provide timestamps on YouTube videos. So I'm going to take this current website here, refurbish it, and we're going to be making a free to use AI timestamp generator for any content creator that will also monetize with Google Ads. To do this, we're going to be leveraging the API provided by BumpUps here of generate timestamps and calling this API call, which I'll show you how to do step by step. Mind you, this is the value that I'm providing in this software. This right here is going to be the value you provide in your software. So typically, if you're building a software that needs to have ChatGPT integrated into it, this is where you're going to have your ChatGPT API endpoints. Regardless of what it is, Typically in software infrastructure, you'll build out custom pipelines for, I'm speaking too crazy right now. Let me take a step back. I'm trying to speak as simple as possible. Essentially, in software, some code will be custom. So for example, the software I'm developing for bumpups.com, the code that's custom is how we handle that video file, extract the data, and then give the AI output. Whatever your value is, this is either going to be through connecting through a third-party software. So for example, in this video or this series, we're connecting to this third-party provider for the API. But in theory, you could build out your own version of what BumpUps does. It just requires a lot more complex code and a lot more workaround. This is a long-winded way of me saying, yeah, you could use the ChatGPT endpoint from ChatGPT, like the chat completion request, the API, or you could build out your own version of ChatGPT. Which one sounds easier? Building out your own version of ChatGPT or just leveraging ChatGPT's API? I think we're leaning towards the API. So now that we know our front end in this tech stack, how we're going to provide value to the end consumer, what is our back end? Now, to be clear, a back end is how we actually are going to be able to process all the requests in the software. When I say a request, that just simply means, for example, if you ever open up TikTok or Instagram, you're like, I'm going to create a new Instagram post. When you say create, that's going to be a request sent to the back end. Its functions translate that to just actions. What are the actions we're going to give our app? And the actions and the way we're going to give our app actions is going to be using Firebase and GCP. Your next question might be, is Corbin, why are you mentioning both? It's because Firebase is a product of GCP. Firebase is a nice, friendly user interface that's going to be very simple for you to understand as a new developer. These are interchangeable depending on your tech stack. I know there's a lot of people out there that love AWS and Amazon's infrastructure. Personally, I like Google. When it comes to their GCP, I'm familiar with it. I go with what I know. So now that we have that, this is like the major part of the cake here. Like our cake is going to be baked. I want to bake a cake. Coming down here, how are we going to have it so we have good management, version control, deploying this to an actual live website link? We need to use something like GitHub. And your next question might be, Corbin, why are you calling it cloud code? I'm going to try to use as simple terms as possible in this entire series. Therefore, when I describe stuff, I'll be giving analogies and just really trying to dumb it down to make it as simple as possible. Because in reality, to build our software, as you can see, it's really only a couple puzzle pieces here. So the way I want you to think of GitHub and cloud code and everything we're going to do in GitHub together is this is our way of taking the code that is locally found on your laptop. When I say locally, that means that the code exists in quite literally a folder, like a folder that you hit command or right click new folder. That's where your code exists. And if you don't deploy this to something like GitHub, if your laptop were to break, get destroyed, you lose the code forever. Therefore, we use GitHub to not only store a code in the cloud, but also this helps with version control. When I say version control, let me give you an example. Have you ever played Mario before? You know when you play Mario and it's like level 1 and you get to the flag, you hit it, and it's like, I think it's a green flag, and it's like checkpoint made. Or when you're playing Skyrim, this would probably be a better one. When you're playing Skyrim, and you go to like Winterfall, and you're basically about to wild out and attack everyone, and before you do that, you like save like a little checkpoint in the menu. That's where GitHub comes into play. This is when we're creating applications. And let's say we get to a checkpoint in our application that we're like, you know what, this is really good. I like this version. We'll save that as a branch and merge that into main, and we'll be able always to revert back to that commit. What this allows us to do is code in a more free way so that if we're coding past that checkpoint, and let's just say we absolutely mess up, which will happen in software development because one, you're coding with AI, but two, it just happens. You can revert back to this checkpoint in GitHub and not have to worry. Just like when you go to Winterfall, I think it's Winterfall, let me know in the comments. In Skyrim, you do like Fusrada, and you like kill half the village. You can revert back to the checkpoint before you started attacking the village. Does that make sense? Let's go back. I loved Skyrim growing up as a kid. That was a lot of fun. And the last most important part here is going to be monetization. How are we going to make money? And the way we're going to do that today is going to be through Google AdSense. Now, Google AdSense is going to allow us to put those little banner ads that you see in the left and the right columns that you typically see on like blog sites. I think StockTwits uses it as well. So I'm going to show you how to leverage that. All in all, though, this is the tech stack, and I'm going to show you how to set up everything here as simple as possible. Trust me. Therefore, in the next lesson here, we're going to go over setup. I'm going to show you how to set up your development environment so you can start actively coding in the most secure and productive way. So that goes over the entire tech stack. Everything we need to know about building software at a baseline, just laying the bricks out so we know the tools to use on how to build software. Make sure to leave a like if you feel like you learned something up to this point. Make sure to subscribe here so you can stay up to date on this series. But without further ado, as you already know, I'll see you in the next video.